But can I somehow make my camera narrower? I don't know if that's a setting here. No.
To change your camera for what? Sorry, I misunderstood you.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh,
It's
okay,
just,
okay.
wide angle doesn't matter. I can
Okay.
go close.
Okay, let me check if everything is working fine. Okay.
Go close.
Okay, let me. Okay, it seems I think it's working properly. Yes. I will also share the Steam page of the game real quick on the stream too. Okay. Okay. You can hear me well, right? So there is no echo on my side, and
it's all good. All good.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. I will double check one more last time, and then we can start.
I hope I'm not going to disappear in between. We had some power outages these days. So
oh, it's okay. No worries.
I'm going to disappear in between. We had some power outages.
No worries at all. Okay, guys, let me know if you're down to start. I'm down. I'm ready.
Yeah. Just a very quick question. Is there a shortcut for mute in Discord? Just in
shortcuts? Yeah. If you
let's see.
Turn your mouse down. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I got it.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
Perfect. Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. So welcome everyone to a very new episode of my Dev Live show. Today I'm joined with the two creators of the game called Elroy and the Aliens. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very thankful and very honored that you joined us for today's episode of my Dev Live show. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please, each one of you introduce yourself for us.
Go ahead, Urban.
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm Urban Breznik Orbidjon. I'm the lead game artist at Motivity Games. I was the responsible for all the visuals and animations for the game. And yeah, I live in Spain, originally from Slovenia. And the whole team is based in different countries. So working from the distance was... It's quite normal these days. So, there we go.
I see. Thank you for that. What about you?
Hi, I'm Tadej Gregorčić. As the writer and director on the game, also did a lot of coding and design. I'm one of the people who started the studio in the first place. We started it in Maribor in Slovenia. And meanwhile, like Urban, we started actually working together in the same room. And I moved to Sweden maybe 6-7 years back. So here we are.
I see.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for your time, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So my very first question would be, what was your very first contact with video games as a player, if you remember those times of your past? Of course, question goes to both of you again.
Right. I'm pretty old.
I also started I think
we are not old, right? We are playing games. We are always, we will always still kids
here. Some old games. It's like, oh my god, what dinosaur?
The first one was maybe Space War.
Okay.
Like, you remember that one? But then my dad had. It was very weird because I had an uncle who had a C64.
Okay.
So we played a bunch of games there. I think one of them was called The Hero or something like that. But my real gaming started with the PC era, like the first PCs like XT 186. I don't know, games like, Ski or Die and California games and the Gorilla QBasic game and so forth, but very quickly kind of discovered point-and-click adventure games.
I see.
Sierra's, Space Quest, police quest as well. That's how I learned English as well, I think.
Yeah, we have been all there, right? Learning English and other languages for video games, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what about you, Urban?
Yeah, so one of my first memories was at a cousin's place that they still were games on a cassette tape.
Okay.
Right? And everyone was kind of like put the cassette in play and no one touched anything. Everyone went like, it worked, yeah, it worked. And it was some kind of tank shooter, something super rudimental. This is like my first memory of seeing a video game. But otherwise, I was by my cousin. I was introduced by a lot of point-and-click adventure games as well, like the LucasArts games.
I see.
I vividly remember him showing me the Dig, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. It's the best." And I then remember years later, I just saw that game on a shelf when the games were still sold physically in a big box. I saw it one day. I was like, "Oh my god, I need to buy this." And yeah, I also learned a lot English through playing games. I didn't know what was going on. That was the thing. Like, I just wanted to play.
True.
And then you came to a certain point where you didn't know how to continue, and you was like, maybe it would be a good idea
You had to understand it, right? You had to learn for it.
What was happening so that I know what I need to do.
True.
And I was there like playing the Dig and having the dictionary. I was like, cheese, what is cheese? Or, like just, okay, I need to find this.
True. It shows that video games can help you learn, right? So it really shows.
Yeah,
Sorry,
absolutely.
by the way, for interrupting you, yeah.
Yeah.
No. It's me. I think it's very fascinating with the first point-and-click adventure games with a text interface, because you had to actually type in all the commands.
True.
And then I you go like in Police Quest. I remember you go to a door and it says the door is locked. So like, locked means locked, right? And then, but how do I open it? And then, like the first realization as a, I don't know, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, that unlock means to do the opposite, right? But then also my dad was bringing me all these games, and one of them was Liges with Larry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was a kid, like learning.
You shouldn't be playing as a kid, right?
No, my dad didn't know like what these games were.
It's okay.
So.
I mean, it's okay.
No, it's pretty pictures. Pretty pictures.
No, he worked as a programmer very early on, so he just got access to stuff. Yeah, I remember the phrases that I learned, like use rubber and stuff like that. As a child. Don't hope he doesn't watch this. But,
I love it.
The first thing that in the school you were like, so you know a little bit of English? Yes, use the rubber.
Yeah, you were way far ahead of your classmates, right? In knowledge. Yeah, I love it. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for those stories. I appreciate that. So from that point of your life that both loved video games, right, as a player, what was that light bulb moment for you guys when you realized that you would like to work on video games? What was that very first tick in your head that like, hey, I love playing video games. I had this journey with video games as a player, but I would also now would like to work on video games. What was that moment and how it all started for you guys?
For me, it was a couple of things. I think big catalyst was playing the LucasArts games that I still consider to be one of the best games. Okay. In my list, on my list, Day of the Tentacle was one of them, and the other one was also the Dig. But I also played a lot of real-time strategy games, like Command and Conquer, Red Alert.
Love that.
Early on, when a lot of us had the idea of like, what if I could do the strategy part, but also be like embody all the players on the field, like combine real-time strategy with FPS, and that was like a dream of mine to build that. Later, I learned that it's maybe a very high high goal to do something like that. But yeah, I knew back then that I really wanted to make games and become a programmer, because that's what I thought. Like you need to be a programmer to make video games, and that's what I became. And all the writing and design came much later for me.
See. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
For me, I vividly remember it was 2010.
Okay.
And I was just by coincidence, I saw the point-and-click adventure game Machinarium.
Okay.
And I love the LucasArts games. I played them when I was young, but let's say then after like 2000s, I played a lot of like Unreal and also strategy games, Diablo, all of this kind of, and in general, the whole notion of point-and-click adventure games was like, okay, that was the 90s era. It kind of died. That's it. Here's a tier. Okay, right? But then when I saw Machinarium that came out that year, right? It came right there, and they had a demo on the website that you could play. And I played that part, and just my mind was blown. I remember I was like on the floor, literally, and I was like, "How can people in 2010 do adventure games?
True.
Like this is amazing!
True.
Like someone still is kicking."
It was a risk, right? But they took the risk, and they nailed it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I was so inspired,
True.
let's say, by playing just the demo. Right? And then my wife bought me the full game for my birthday. I played the whole thing in one sitting, and I was just like, oh my god, I need to do this. And then at one point, stars aligned, and we were able to do that.
I see. Switching to a more personal, grounded question tied up to this topic, were your family members, parents, and close friends supportive about this decision of yours that you would like to work on video games and put your feet into the video game industry? How do you feel about that?
Do you want me to start? Well,
it's up to you. It's up to you, by the way.
Yeah, I think so. My mom was very like a creative person, a writer and a poet. So she really appreciated, the arts, which I consider the games to be part of.
Sure, I agree.
My dad as a programmer, so I honestly worked for the longest time on stuff that had nothing to do with games, with kind of the aim to eventually end up in the games industry. Like Urban, I grew up in Slovenia. There's not really a whole lot of games companies there that one can join and learn from. I did end up traveling a lot, and then kind of building a network and learning and starting to work with games, especially after I also early on, like at university and before, I was very interested in building my own game engine, and I did that even as my thesis project. But when I kind of thought, okay, you need to have your own engine to make games. So I created an engine, and then did some first Sokoban type stuff, and I made like my little cousin. You remember when we all had Nokia phones? And we had the Snake game.
Yeah.
And then my little cousin was the only one who didn't have that Snake game on her phone. So I built it for her for Windows. And yeah, but I never had that moment where when my dad would still go, but can you make money with this, right? And the answer is, yes, in theory. So it is a hard industry, especially these days. It's a little bit of a downturn, but it's an industry filled with passion and people who really love what they're doing.
Sure.
So that's really kept me going inside of it. What about you, Urban?
Yeah. To be honest, my family at the beginning didn't even know I was now making video games. I was creative since ever, like drawing, making projects, comics, animations, and it really felt like an evolution of everything that I was doing until that point. I'm a graphic designer by profession, but already at the university I was doing almost everything but graphic design. I mean, I did what I needed to do, but there was a lot of animation, a lot of cartoons, and just making that cartoons come to life that you can actually manipulate and like have it as an interactive medium, which is the games, was like the next step, which I love to be able to go into this direction. So yeah, in general, my family was always very supportive of what I was doing. Like whatever it was, I needed photocopies of thousands of things to draw. My father always made it. I had a lot of support, without question. Like kind of like, oh yeah, this you need, yeah, sure, will. I make you photocopies, or I make you whatever. You need something to draw here. No worries, right? And also for me to study, my first idea what I wanted to be was an architect, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the whole thing changed the day when I went to see the University of the Architecture, and I was like, no way I'm going here. This is just too snobby, too I don't know what. It's too black and white. I need colors. So I ended up in the graphic design, so more arts direction.
I see.
And me changing direction where I wanted to study, like my parents didn't hesitate. Like, yeah, this is what you want to do. Yeah, sure, go for it.
Felt like it's your way, right? Probably.
Yeah. And I was I have two brothers and a sister, and I'm kind of the only one that went more into the art direction.
I see.
Like everyone is as more like very cookie cutter in the sense of a lawyer,
like the more boring stuff, we could say so.
No, like this.
It's not boring, but like
out of a book. What are you going to be when you grow up? Right?
Yeah.
And then I come along of like, I'm just an artist here. Right? It's like, that's not a real job.
No, it is. It is. And I feel like more people are appreciating art than ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially now, I would say with the AI that comes that came, and so now things that actually people know how to do this without writing a prompt is quite an achievement, let's say.
True. Both of you mentioned, by the way, that you first of all wanted to pay out your way into the different direction, right? You started with you wanted to be an architect, and you also mentioned that like you wanted to do multiplayer games, right? Would you guys like to go back to that era and start there as well at your later years, like in, I don't know, 5 years? To go back to those things, because I always say that if a young adult has a thing in his mind or her mind to achieve or to do, they will always go back to that. Would you guys have this same vision, like to go back to those things? Like today I mentioned that you would like to make a strategy game where you can have these little units controlled by the player, and you also mentioned, Urban, that you would like to be an architect. So what about those things?
I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so no, architecture, that train was past the day I saw that I didn't want to do it.
Okay.
But from the games genre, let's say, it's something that I always also had in mind, more of the strategy games and action RPGs games, as was the Diablo, which I think a lot of people got inspired by and still kind of have that feeling for. So you never know what can bring, but let's say as long as the heart is there and the ambition, then everything is possible.
And you can always bring the colors that you missed from being an architect, right, into the field of being an architect, right, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, from the architecture point of view, is if you make stuff in 3D, right, like just scenery and whatever.
It's similar, we can say.
at the end of the day, it's you don't really build it physically somewhere in the world. But for a lot of players, when you then
I mean, you can build a theme park right after a video game. It's happened. So
yeah, no, I mean it's you build worlds,
True,
right?
true,
At
true.
the end, so you build buildings, and you
True.
decide where all the elements go. So in the end, you basically are soft like a architect
True.
in virtual worlds,
True,
right?
true, true. Very
So
true.
you never know. Maybe it can come to something like this later. Yeah.
True, very true. I agree. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned multiplayer games, because I also worked on a tool, an engine for making multiplayer games called Coherence,
Yeah, I know that.
and then we which helped a lot of very cool games actually get made, and with that, like I participated in global game jams and made my own multiplayer games with friends and stuff, and experimenting with different ideas. I'm not so I do play Rocket League from now and now, like now and then, and I do play an RTS called Beyond All Reason, which is an open source game, really good, based on Supreme Commander and Total Annihilation, I think. But it's kind of funny because I like in this era where Roblox style games are coming out, like Are We There Yet? Like all that kind of playful stuff happening, where the story is something that emerges from playing with your friends.
Sure.
That I really like. But other than that, like these two passions, I really love story-based games. I'm extremely in love with games with a strong story, even more action-based, story-based games. But in the action-based ones, I always dial down the action to casual or to story mode. And then I make sure that I focus on the story. Like I love the Uncharted series, for instance, but I could never reconcile how, the story of the guy being, sitting on the sofa with his partner, talking about life, talking about family, and then going out and just shooting up, hundreds of people, like, and then not going to a psychiatrist afterwards, like. Like those things are a little bit weird, to be honest. I also love the Mass Effect games, and
Nice.
and it's similarly, like all the shooting and stuff. I don't really care for it so much. So these two things, and trying to create interesting stories within the multiplayer world, I think that's cool for me. There've been some attempts of doing point-and-click like games with multiplayer elements. Like for instance, often like even with Elroy, people will sit, in the sofa with their partner or family and play together, and like you're just like watching a movie together and trying to solve puzzles together, right? And being able to do that remotely with multiplayer tech is an interesting idea, I think.
There is a game in the making, by the way. Sorry for interrupting. There is an FPS adventure game in the making. I cannot recall the name, but it will be out next year. It's a game based around the sea world, and there is a scuba diver as a main hero. And the main concept in the game is that like different players make different choices, and the choices are connected in a shared world. It's not an MMO. It's basically a story-driven game, a first-person story-oriented games. Sorry?
Not Subnautica.
No, not Subnautica. I cannot recall the name of the game, but like, I will check it for you. I have so many games in my mind, so I keep forgetting the names of the games sometimes. But yeah, it's an FPS adventure game, and basically you can see the players' choices, what they made as ghosts. And you can decide whether to do it or not.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So it's one of the first games that, to my best knowledge, do that. That it's basically a shared world, but it's not an MMO or a multiplayer game. You just see the ghosts, like they were being racing games, that you see the stats of the ghosts, but it's basically ghosts with choices, and the story shapes because of you decide whether to go on the route that other players did or no. But it's not stats, it's basically just a ghost who did maybe, I don't know, killed somebody or just helped somebody. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I have to check it out.
Yeah, I will check the name of the game for you after our conversation, and I will send it to you, because that's an awesome looking game so far. So yeah.
Right.
By the way, sorry that I interrupted you. Sorry for that.
No. Go ahead.
Just to add here, now that I remember when you were saying about the Uncharted, the newer Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, I think handles that much better, because a lot of there is not killing, but you just take like a pen or a guitar and you just hit guys on the head with it, right?
It's more classical killing, right?
So they just get like they just get stunned and that's it. So it's much less, let's say, brutal. It's more of like you just make sure they don't raise the alarm or something like this.
I don't have like a sniper rifle and snipe people who are employed by a guy who's after the same thing you're after, but it's not evil inherently, right? Like you're just basically, like in Uncharted, you're killing people who are doing a job. Right.
Yeah, but they do question this topic in the fourth series, if you remember. So they started to question this in the fourth installment of the series. That's when it got serious. It's interesting because I agree with the topic of this unreasonable killing in Uncharted games. I also love the multiplayer games, which were very underrated, but also a very classical thing in the PlayStation 3 era. Uncharted was basically one of the first TPS multiplayer parts of TPS multiplayer games, with Starhawk as well on PlayStation 3. I remember playing those ones and growing up on those multiplayers as well. But as for the story part, I feel like the main thing that made these the first three Uncharted, very special was basically the mystery behind all those things, because they had mystery creatures, right, in the first three installments of Uncharted games. But for the fourth, they missed that opportunity. I remember when there was a part where Elena and Drake were in this pirate cove, and they helped each other get out from the rope trap. And there was something started to happen, right? And I felt like, oh, finally, skeleton pirates, something mysterious, something. And it never happened, and I missed it. I felt like you could feel the way that they grow up in order to be there for the Last of Us games and other very more serious games without the mysteries. So basically, I missed very much the mysterious parts of Uncharted. But it was a good thing because they grow up, like I said, for the Last of Us games. In that sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wanted to mention one game series. So you remember the Telltale, The Walking Dead?
Yeah, I love those. Yeah.
I love them as well. There's a lower level of feeling of agency because you have just limited choices, but the storytelling was so good.
Sure.
And then actually my favorite game in out of those games became Tales from the Borderlands. I'd never played the Borderlands series, but I was so in love with Telltale style games that I started playing it, and I think it was one of the best ways humor was approached in games like this. I was laughing so much during that game, and the timing, everything of the humor was perfect. And the only game, the first game I played that came close to that in its humor was Guardians of the Galaxy. And again, I'm not a fan, not like a huge fanboy of the Guardians of the Galaxy universe, but that game is so funny again, and the storytelling is amazing. There's some clunky gameplay and stuff like that, but I could survive it, kind of laughing at the jokes and all that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, those are cool as well.
Yeah, very true. It's similar to me, by the way. I always can overcome the clunky gameplay, in my opinion, in my thoughts, when it's a good story. So I don't care about the clunky gameplay. Just it's there, right? It was a developer choice. So you never know why they did that. They might not have enough time or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For Elroy and the Aliens, which came first? The story, the gameplay, the art, or all together?
There was a bit of so I wrote a couple of paragraphs of a story that has almost nothing to do with what the game is right now.
Okay.
It was very, very different. The main character was still Elroy, and there was Diego, but not quite the same way. And and then we started experimenting with some like flat side-scrolling puzzle gameplay.
I see.
At first, I remember Urban, you drew some black and white art, and I put it together, and then you started experimenting with more classic adventure game style artwork. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think I made like one or two backgrounds that were very much like a classic point-and-click adventure game, and we put the character in, and we were all kind of like, this feels so good, you know. And yes, basically, it's a lot of my fault that I kind of made visually the push into the direction of how the game is, and how also the game mechanics then work. And to be honest, for a while, especially at the beginning, that was like in 2013, the iPad was still at that time very, very much like the platform to develop for, right? And we based a lot of our development more in the direction of touch based puzzles, and we implemented that and tried it, but then with years, like 2 or 3 years after developing all of this, the market on the iPad shifted so much into the freemium model that it was very hard for us to be able to put a premium game out on that platform.
I see.
And then just the mindset needed to start changing, because on that part, the point-and-click adventure game wasn't in that way. It was more of like a hybrid between full-screen puzzles, and then you navigate with a character through scenes. But it wasn't this really hardcore classic point-and-click adventure game. And then once we start shifting to the PC part, then we started to lock in. It almost like creeped behind us, kind of like, look, you have everything here that looks like a point-and-click adventure. Just make it, right?
Make it, yeah.
But it was difficult for us to even come to the point where we were all very clear that now we are making this genre.
I see.
Because before we were developing for touch-based devices, which it wasn't this very clear point-and-click adventure game. It was just more like a puzzle game, right? So yeah, there
and so that was kind of a tough choice at the time. We had a concept that would probably have yielded like 2-3 hours of gameplay.
I see.
At most. And when we decided to try, Steam still had this green light system. So we put our game on green light, and we got like a super overwhelmingly positive response. And that made us also think, okay, there's something here, so let's explore it. But of course, on Steam, then the expectations of the player are also different. And we decided, okay, so we actually always wanted to make a proper adventure game, like a classic style adventure game, but we maybe didn't have, the guts to do it in the beginning. Then we decided, okay, let's do it. And I remember, so the story, I started kind of working on the general outlines of, like a full arc with characters developing with all that stuff. and it took quite a while, and a lot of experimentation. We also relied a lot on people testing the game to flesh it out and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I won't lie. It did prolong the development time for quite a bit. Our decision to do that, and also us being a self-funded studio was part of the reasons, because we had to do other projects to survive and fund the game development, which also meant that the whole development then took a longer time. But yeah.
Was it like a choice that you never chose to get a publisher behind your back, by the way? Sorry to interrupt you again.
We actually, we talked to a bunch of publishers. We had some, interesting options on the table. But in the end, we also learned quite a lot, of how to do social media, how to do PR. We did work with a PR firm. And they helped us a little bit with contacts with publications and stuff like that. But honestly, most of the interest for the game, and most of the conversions, I would say, came from social media, Reddit, working this team, whole ecosystem and cycle, and all that kind of stuff. I think the way games are discovered has changed quite a lot in the last 10 years.
I agree, and to add to this, I feel like I have this strong and harsh opinion about PR companies, a lot of PR companies. There are some good ones, but there are some people in the PR ecosystem who are like getting their salaries, but they are not doing their jobs right. So I feel like, especially whenever I try to, for example, contact developers throughout the PR companies, they always had these things that they promised me to get contact with the developers, but they never did. And when I came through a different route and I directly messaged the developers, they were like telling me that they never get any email or something that they were contacted by that PR who I asked to contact. So I feel like from all these experiences of mine, I feel like these companies have a lot of lazy people who are getting their salaries anyway. I'm not blaming anyone, so don't get me wrong. It's just I feel like it's an ecosystem where people are getting money for promoting games, but they are not doing their jobs right. It's very true for the streamers as well. I always say this, that a lot of streamers and YouTubers say that they care about indie games, but at the end of the day, they don't give a fuck about indie games. Sorry to say that. They are not promoting them. They are not playing them. They are not doing any content of them. They are just requesting keys for the games, and that's all. So it's crazy to me that we are living in a world where it would be so easy to let's say this, get more money in the pocket of developers and get more attention for the developers because of the promote. Because I remember when I started video game journalism when I was 15 or 16 here in Hungary, there was no hate in video game journalists websites. There was no this clickbait thing. There was only people who cared about games and they wrote articles because they cared about games. Nowadays, it's it's way different. Like you said it, it's totally different. And it's a sad thing in my opinion, because it's easier to get discovered, but it's also harder because of this reason.
It is, but I don't want to bash PR companies. I think
I do.
They're doing the job.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I do have my own opinions of how what things work. I think so. So ultimately, when we're an indie game studio, right? We made an indie game. We financed it ourselves. We had some funds from our side projects, but then actually working with PR companies can be helpful in establishing a web presence.
It's true.
Which means that if you Google Elroy and the Aliens, you can see articles in different sites, which then help you get a Metacritic score and all that kind of stuff, right? And those things are important, but they don't drive sales the same way they used to.
True.
And then you have to do a lot of work. You have to know how, stores like Steam, especially, let's face it, Steam, and then everything else is kind of GOG is also really, really nice, but it's, it doesn't have the same power as Steam, let's say. And then you have to know, you have to get enough wish lists, and then you have to get over the hump. Then you have to try to be featured in the new and upcoming games and all that kind of stuff. So it's basically a game you're playing, right? With the store, and I mean, we're not amazing at it, but we learned quite a lot launching this game, and also kind of helping other games launch in the past. But it is different. It is difficult. Like, discoverability of games has been a huge problem.
Sure.
Everywhere in every store. Also, on Apple, if you're featured in the top 10, you're like 100 times more visible than everything else. But yeah, I do think PR companies are going to have to, start understanding that a little bit better, and start working harder and more closely with developers.
True. True. That's the key. That's the key. What you mentioned at the very last thing in your sentence. That's closer to the developers and the players, because like you have to understand your target audience. And for example, for point-and-click games, it's a hardcore audience. It's not everyone. Like, for example, I don't know, a multiplayer player might not be playing like point-and-click games. They might play because of their favorite streamer or YouTuber, but if a PR company contacts them with an email that, hey, this game is out, they won't give a fuck about it. Sorry to say that, because it's very like generic how people approach others when it comes to promoting, in my opinion. And I feel like that's what we are missing nowadays, that for example all of these people who are working in order to help developers grow their attention, a lot of them like doing this job in a very weird way, because like I also work in the video game industry as a game developer, and I also promote our own games. And I feel like whenever I like talk to one-on-one on people, it's easier to like get their attention, but it takes time, like you mentioned. And that's what a lot of people as PR people or streamers or YouTubers don't do, because they say they care about the game, but caring is one thing, but working hard to help others is also another thing, in my opinion.
Well, one thing I don't think we quite achieved, and I really, really wanted to happen, is so point-and-click adventure games. If you look at the genre, right, it's a pretty classic genre. There's a lot of the player bases, plays it. They're like us. They played adventure games in the past. They're really in love with this genre. But why do we love this genre? It's interesting. There's a strong story usually. There's puzzles. There's no kind of pressure to do it, quickly. You can really relax with this kind of games. There's a lot of beautiful art, all that kind of stuff.
And the jokes, of course, that you mentioned.
Yeah, and those are things that don't only appeal to nostalgic players. They can appeal to a much wider audience.
It's true. You just have to sell it, right? That's what I meant to say, is that like you have to understand how to sell it, and that's the hardest part, in my opinion.
How do you find players that don't know that what they might like is called a point-and-click adventure game? Because when you go on Steam, it's a category, right? And if you haven't discovered this category, you don't know it's good for it's something you're gonna like.
That's why I said that I believe in one-on-one talk or magazines or video game journalists who like are more into like telling what the game is good for rather than making a review. Because I remember I always say this in my Dev Life episodes, that like I miss the time and era where like video game journalists were writing articles about games. Like we used to analyze poems. I love the fact, that's why I started writing at the first place when I was a kid for video game journalist websites, is that like I love the fact that how we analyzed poems. We analyzed it. We never said that, hey, this poem is 1 out of 10. This poem is 9 out of 10. It's stupid, right? It's nonsense. If you go to a museum, you won't say that, hey, this painting is 1 out of 10. It does not make sense because it's art. For someone, it will be a very good art. For someone, it will be a very bad art. But it's not the truth that somebody is saying or the other one is saying. And as a person in the industry who like make reviews or trying to sell these things, they have to like not criticize it, but to tell like an approval that yes, this is it, and here's the thing what you might like, here's the thing what you might not like, but you don't have to pressure your opinion. And I feel like that's the hardest part in this industry as promoters, is that like nowadays I can see that there is so much like hate going on against video games, even if like people cherish video games, like they push their opinions too much, that hey, you should play this, hey, you shouldn't play this. And I'm, as a player, I feel like I should decide what I should buy by own money, right? So you should just tell that hey, it's a game about this and you could enjoy this game for this and that, but you shouldn't decide for me what should I buy, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, or what should I shouldn't buy.
When players write, "Oh, the developers were lazy."
Exactly. That's why I started this whole show, by the way, because like I hated the fact that there are so many people who do not understand how much work and how much time, how much pressure and everything, and also money, like you mentioned, on the line when you guys make games, and it's just sad that people don't understand it, and people not just don't understand it, people don't care. People just want the end product to be good, but what's good, right? How do you explain what's good?
What can also happen, that this is also I'm seeing in the film industry, you have some reviewers who make their way of reviewing something as harsh as possible, and that is their shtick. Like that is their thing. Whatever game comes out, I'm going to criticize it, no matter. Like if it is beyond amazing, then okay. But if it is just one thing, I'm going to grind that one thing to death, right?
Exactly.
And a lot of people just take a lot of kind of it's a lot of comedy in that, let's say. Although for us, then the developers, it's everything but funny.
Sure.
Let's say. But I understand that like they making their own niche of the way of reviewing things, and you have people who review things.
But it's not healthy.
Very
That's
harsh,
the thing, that it's not healthy for. It's healthy for no one. At the end of the day, it's not healthy for players, because a lot of players just go with the crowd and they accept these reviews, and they accept if it's somebody says that it's a bad game, they won't buy it, and it's stupid. Because I as a person, I always tell people to try it. There are demos for every game. It's the best era to play video games. Back when I was a kid and you guys were kids, there was so hard to get a demo for a game, right? We had to go to the magazine store and pray if that game had a demo in that magazine, you know. Nowadays,
that's right.
Every game has a demo. Like, you can try it for yourself. You don't have to rely on others' opinion. That's why, for example, for my community, I always tell, whenever I stream every game, I always tell them to try it out, to try it for yourself, because that's what I like about the game, but you might not like it, right? So it's like, it's so easy nowadays. It's just people rely too much on others' opinion, and that's bad. That's bad, because how you said it, it's very true. In my opinion, every game can be appealing for everyone, because I feel like, especially story games, there are so many stories which can relate to real life problems, because developers had their hearts put in their stories, put into the stories that they like cherished and made throughout the games, and people can connect with it. It's just you have to sell it right. You have to tell them that yes, this is a story about losing a father. This is a story about losing a mother. This is a story about love. You have to express that. That's why I said that the basic of this, just like in analyzing poems, it's so easy. Or it would be so easy.
I love like something that this reminds me of is, you know, when we played the adventure games of you know, in the 90s, and I remember getting stuck, you know, in the Tentacle, for instance. I had to wait maybe, you know, many weeks. Like if I couldn't figure it out myself, I knew a guy in my hometown who had progressed further in the game than I did, so I had to, you know, go to his house to talk to him, you know, like wait that he has time and then talk to him, and then when we all got stuck, then we had to wait for some German games magazine to come out with the
with the guide. Yeah,
with the guide, yeah,
exactly. And then when we released Elroy the same day, there were like 5 full playthroughs on YouTube.
Walkthroughs,
right? So it's
That
it's
was
hard. Like when people get stuck. Sorry, Urban, let me just say this. When people get stuck, they you often like I go and look it up, right? So how do you make and then if you finish a game very quickly this way, it's almost like binge watching an entire season of a TV show.
Sure.
And then which means like you might enjoy it a lot, but then you also forget about it more quickly.
Sure.
As opposed to if you watch it over a longer period of time, story beats and everything sink in a little bit more.
Sure.
Through time. So Urban, sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I was trying to go in that direction as well. Of just we thought about very hard about how difficult the puzzle should be, right? Like this is something that we really wanted people to experience the story. We wanted the people go out that they don't get frustrated and finish with the game and just be like on half of like, oh no, this puzzle is too. It's whatever, I quit, that's it, right? We didn't want this to happen. We wanted that it was as smooth as possible, so that it is a overall experience, right? And this what today said about binge watching is, I remember when we were still living in the same city together, we watched Game of Thrones together when every episode came out once per week, right? And we all gathered at his place and like chips and stuff, and then it was like, what was the last week? It was this. Okay, let's see. And then we watched the whole thing, and then we talked about it, right? Sure. It's a whole experience. And I remember this in the 90s as well, of me and my friend, we were both playing Grim Fandango at the same time, and each of us got stuck on different places, right? And then the next day we could talk about it. It's like, how did you do that? I don't know how to progress. You need to do this. Okay, great. Or maybe we both got stuck on the same problem, right? But now this kind of communal way of playing is a bit of a lost art form.
People are rushing the games. Most of them are rushing games.
Because it's just, in general, I would say we are in the best and in the worst time for media.
Agree.
Because you have so much. Like series wants your attention, movies wants your attention. Sure. There is like 200 games every day on Steam, new coming out. Like it's too much. And the unfortunate thing is that at the end you rely on reviews or you rely on the numbers to say,
rather than your passion and experimenting. What should I play? Yeah.
Exactly. Is this thing actually worth my time?
True.
Right?
True.
And if it has a lower number, you go like, maybe not.
True.
But unfortunately, maybe there are some gems that because of, I don't know, whatever reasons, the reviews are lower for, I don't know, someone got the...
like the Gollum game I always mention, I always mention this example throughout my show and in other Twitch streams as well. Like, I hate the fact that Gollum got like 2 out of 10. It's a crazy good game. It has a crazy good story. It ties up perfectly with the Lord of the Ring universe. It's just got a very bad review scores everywhere because the gameplay is so clunky and buggy. But no one mentioned the story, how good it is and how long it is, because the story. Yes, exactly. Right. It's a very great story, and the story was so cohesive with the Lord of the Rings universe. It fit perfectly, and nobody's mentioning it. I read all the reviews, and it shows that most reviewers haven't even played through just 1 hour, and it's a 30+ hour game. I played it through like 4 times.
Right,
that's the problem.
People love to hate it. Yeah.
I met some of the people who worked on the story, and I felt really bad for them because I know they worked on it for many years.
Yeah. It shows how passionate they were. It shows. I read the books and I played the story, and it was a perfect fit. Like I said, it showed that they are so much passionate about the whole. And you know what's funny? I made this. Sorry, by the way, to interrupt you again. I'm just so passionate about this topic. Is that like? I made this like sentence or like idea is that like it's very interesting to think that like nobody cared about Gollum as a hero or protagonist or anti-hero in the Lord of the Ring universe, and nobody cared about the game, right? About him. But think about it, he was probably one of the most important characters in the universe because he helped Frodo carry the ring. And it's a coincidence, right, that like almost nobody cared about him in the movies or in the books, and nobody cared about the game. So it's like, it's so stupid in my opinion. Like, come on, man. Like, people have to grow up in their mind, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It's very unfortunate when some reviews can, and also depends. Like, for reviews, numbers for a lot of people can mean something else.
True.
Like if you get a 90% score, or if you get a 70% score.
True.
Right, like you can get, oh, this game is amazing. Like, review says this game is amazing, 70%.
True.
Right, and you're like,
Spanish and Latin American websites always like seven is very good.
yeah, like, it's a great game, 7, right? So it also depends of like where are they standing. Of like, okay, 9 is great, or 7 is great, or where are we, right?
Very true.
So like my history teacher, he said he always used to say, you might know, like the scores went from 1 to 5 in Slovenia. 5 was the best, and then he said, oh, you might know for a 3. I might know for a 4, but only God knows for a 5.
Very true. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. And by the way, to the example from my life, to point out the adventure that I got lost in, and I'm not sure if you guys know, but probably you guys know that game, Robinson Crusoe. There was I played it in Russian language, by the way, because I know Russian too, and I loved that game so much. And I remember I got stuck in one place, and there was like a saying in Russian that like, мама мне всегда говорила, что не кушай незнакомые фрукты. That means that like my mother always told me that he should never like eat unknown fruits, and he farted because of the fruit that he like took from the tree, and it was such a good joke, and I got lost there for like an eternity. Like, I never played it through, and you cannot even get that disc nowhere, but it was such a good game. And that's really shows, like with your examples too, that those games, and back then where you like couldn't find any guide, or you had to ask your friend, it stuck with you because you cared about it, right? And there was no help, you had to play it in order to go forward. So yeah.
Yeah, and it was also one thing that I remember that now it's also a bit lost is the manuals. Like, anything that you could get physically, like games, right? You had manuals, and I remember playing. One of my favorite games was Worms, right? Like Worms Armageddon, Worms World Party, and basically the whole series, right? And I remember that when I couldn't play because my parents restricted me. When I could play, like 1 hour on Friday and 1 hour on Saturday, and that's it, right? But then when I didn't play, I kind of played.
You read the manuals,
but with my imagination and with the manuals, like reading everything, what everything does, and kind of like offline tutorial, let's say, right? And I still remember that I took a piece of paper and I drew like a map on and put, okay, here are all the worms, and now this one starts, and pooh, and
strategy mastermind.
That's right. Like, I played my own game on a piece of paper, right?
That.
And I think that helps a lot with the imagination as well, just to have that kind of restriction. And we're fortunate from that era to not be so bombarded from all of the sides with so many games, and this is also something that we then have in common, right? Like, it's easier to say, okay, I grew up in the 90s, this means we all played this and this and this and that, right? But today it is like, or you're in Fortnite, or you're in, like, there are just like 3 or 4 that are like this general. But otherwise, like, for example, my son plays like such a niche skating game that I never heard of. All of his friends have no idea what is this. Like, maybe one friend knows, because everyone else plays everything else, right? And also depends where you play, or you have the Switch, or you have the PlayStation, or like, it's very fractured as well. So to have like a common experience today, it's rare. It's more rare than it was before, let's say.
True. True, very true. And I also say that like the more people get into gaming or got into gaming as players, the more trend it became. I feel like a lot of people are playing because they don't know what to do with their time and not because they are so much passionate about video games as we were as kids. I have a lot of friends who just play on a weekly 1 hour and they don't care about games. They just want to spend time with games, which is fine. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. It's just like whenever you miss passion from a hobby, it becomes a trend, in my opinion. You are playing games because of a trend. A lot of people play the top games that you said because it's a trend, not because they care about what to consume. And that's how they miss those gems that you talked about.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, it's just it's like only watching the Marvel Universe movies.
Exactly, and no other movies because I'm a fan of it. Yeah, exactly. And it's not a bad thing, in my opinion. It's just like you miss out so much because you don't care. It's like you have a blind eye and you just go straight forward. It's a one direction, which is, of course, it can be fine.
It's kind of like with music, like if you only listen to radio.
Exactly. I have those friends who just listen to rock, and I'm like, maybe listen to this, maybe listen to that. Like it might be different, but might have the same soul in it, right? So it's like.
But one of the biggest gifts you can give somebody is to introduce them to some music.
Agree.
Right. I think it's amazing, and the same is true for books.
Games.
The same is true for games. It's true for movies, TV shows.
Yeah, because you start to be able to have a conversation with these people, and it's so rare nowadays, and it's so nice to see that how they accepted it and how they loved it or not loved it, and to have these conversations. It's getting more rare and rare, I can tell. Yeah. Switching back, by the way, to a more personal question. I believe in this statement of mine that all of us creators who create our own craft, we always tend to put our inner self into the craft we make. Is this statement of mine true for your life as a video game developer? And if your answer is yes, what examples could you bring us to the table from your life?
That you put yourself into it. Yeah, I would say for Elroy, that's very much true. And in general as well for all art, I would say we, especially good art, I would say. I think we're all very different people, and like bringing our genuine self to whatever we're making, is something that people can recognize and appreciate. And also, if you compare it to AI generated stuff, there's a huge difference, right? Like in the example of Elroy, I would say, I've read countless science fiction books. I'm a huge science fiction fan, and it's a bit like Elroy is kind of light. It's not like hardcore science fiction, but it has a lot of elements of things that have inspired us throughout our growing up, and also like some of the stuff you can see as a game develops over a course of many years. We change as people.
Sure.
And then parts of the game will reflect those different versions of ourselves. I think that's fantastic. Like you might have the impulse that you look back at a part of the game that you thought of or designed a few years ago when you were thinking differently, and you might have the idea, okay, I need to change that to reflect my current self.
Sure.
But I think it's better to leave it and to make it reflect who you were back then as well. I think it's kind of like, I don't have any tattoos, but because I was always afraid, like, oh, what if I hate the tattoo that I got, the Metallica lyrics that I got when I was in high school or something, right? But then I talked to somebody with a lot of tattoos, and she said to me, yeah, but it's like it's a reflection of who you were. It's a memory. It's like a testament.
You have to appreciate the past in order to understand your inner self right now. Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic. Like we were, we at that point in time, that's who we were.
Sure. And it matters because it's you at the same time, right? Or the same life. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then a lot of story beats, or like the loss of a parent and stuff like that. I was going through something like that at the time.
I see.
So some
I'm
of the
sorry to
stuff.
hear that, by the way. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you. No, but I mentioned my mother before, and she's a big influence on me. And then some of the parts of the game with when Mrs. Kandinsky talks about her parents and stuff like that, it really hit hard for me. Yeah, and then like little things like things that inspired us. We try to kind of steer away a little bit from just being fan service to other point-and-click adventure games.
I see.
And stand on our own. But of course, there's a lot of inspiration. Like if you look at the game, you will be reminded of some things that you might have liked in the past, which is also fine because that's what inspired us.
True.
Yeah. It's we consciously put things out of the game. We had much more references at the beginning, but then we were like, okay, let's remove some of the things that is not, so it's too much on the nose. But let's say Tadej was the one that introduced me to Dune, the book series, right? He loves that. Like it's very clear when you meet him. It's like, oh, did you read Dune? So in our game, at one point, you're in the desert. And unfortunately, that we don't have in the game anymore. It was in a previous version. But you come to a to a point. There was a puzzle where you needed to provoke a huge worm comes out of the ground and you need to make a puzzle to get rid of it.
Okay.
And then you went into that hole where this worm comes out, and it was clearly inspired by Dune, right? We didn't put it out because not because of the reference, but because it just didn't fit the tone anymore.
I see.
But let's say there were definitely moments in the game where you could feel the influence or the things like from ourselves. There are also details that I put as like a hidden thing for when Elroy is running towards the train station. On one of the buildings, there's some clothes hanging to dry, and on one of them says the name of my oldest son, right? So it's like this details that you can kind of hide in, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who adds this kind of Easter eggs into their games.
Sure.
And names of their loved ones or something like this.
Yeah, and we did like a lot of things ended up on the cutting board from our game. We have a lot of content that we really like, but it just didn't make it in. And that's part of the editing process. It's like writing a book, right? You might have passages and parts that work well as on their own, but then ultimately they start maybe being distracting to the whole structure of the game, the story, and then they just don't make it. And it's a bit heartbreaking because we put some of them were actually quite polished already. But it is what it is, like you have to make some hard choices as well.
And you can always reuse them at a later date in another game, right? So it's like you can always go back to the
we always joked about this. There's one part where there was some kind of a quiz that you just came in, and we always joke like, yeah, we're going to make that as a standalone game one day. Right?
Yeah.
But it's also a problem that sometimes you become so much like you're in love with one part that you already made that you a lot of times try to shoehorn it somehow into the game, and it's not very clear for like you need someone to come and say like, is it really necessary? Like, does it actually really fit the tone? Does it fit the flow of the game? Because for a long time you can be very convinced, this part is great, it has great mechanics, whatever, but then it's very difficult to distance yourself and say,
because you're attached basically, it's your baby, let's say.
Try do I try to build everything around it just to make this fit, right? And a lot of times we were then in later development like very of like, look, we should have cut things way sooner than we did to streamline the process faster.
And it's also a learning phase, right? So you learn from it.
Absolutely.
We do have an art book on Steam, and I think GOG as well, where a lot of this like cut stuff is featured as well. So if people are interested, it's
I'm interested in a physical edition, by the way. I will have a question for that too a bit later, but yeah. I'm a physical guy too, so I don't go with the digital stuff.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Let's stay at the topic, by the way, or at the questions grounded as for the more personal type of questions. You mentioned change, right, in people's life, going through and making games together. How have you guys changed as a person in other territories of your life from being a game developer? So what effects did game development has on your life in other territories?
I would say a day to how I see the world affected me a lot, because it's then when you're making like specific scenes or parts of the game, when you're out and about, then a lot of times I caught myself like thinking, how could this building could look in a game, or things like that you start daydreaming about a situation you're in, or I don't know if something funny happened to you in that moment. A lot of times I go into this could be funny in a game. Like a lot the thought process is a lot connected with just developing games. Like your mind just changes, at least mine did, of seeing it through a lens of a game.
I see. What about you?
I mean, everybody changes through time, right? Often when you watch politics and people accuse each other of not being consistent with the opinion they shared 10 or 20 years ago, I think that's bullshit, right? Because why? Like we grow, we learn, we learn new things, we get new perspectives, and of course our opinions can also change, and I think they should. If like it's good to have like some basic principles and the desire to be good and all that stuff. But on a personal level, I think I learned so much, and just learning something changes the way you think. I think learning how the games industry works from different points of view really also changed my opinion of other people's games. When I see, like I mentioned earlier, when I see people commenting on, honestly a little bit ignorantly on what they think the reason was for developers doing, making different decisions. I think once you realize how much work and passion and desire is behind the game development process, you realize that a lot of the stuff that controls the outcomes is outside of the developer's control.
True.
Yeah.
Just like when I play games now, I'm very much more analytical of why they made certain decisions. Even when I watch, like I used to be very I would watch a show or read a book or watch a movie. I would be very critical of, this is bullshit. This doesn't make sense as science, or why is this is a plot hole and stuff like that.
Right.
And now I understand. After writing this game, for instance, I understand. Oh yeah, but this is why they made this decision. They were faced with options and they needed to prioritize the feeling here, or they needed to prioritize moving the story forward, or they needed, some there was an emotional thing here, and then now they needed to break it up a little bit because it was too much, and stuff like that. So a lot of this stuff becomes very interesting to me. So I can watch even not that great stuff with a little bit more enjoyment sometimes. And some of the stuff I used to like, I also kind of have a different opinion on sometimes. So I would say appreciation and enjoyment. My appreciation and enjoyment of art and media has been affected by it, for sure.
I see. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it is. A lot of times you need to make the decisions also because it's time constraint, financial constraint, and sometimes you have a vision and you put it together, and then in the end effect you see that maybe it doesn't work.
True.
But now you just can't go and reshoot it again, right? Or because of time schedule you cannot do it again. So you need to kind of mold it in a way that it's okay. But the problem of this is that the struggle behind it, right? But someone who comes fresh in and goes like, what is this? No, this is not good, right? This is then the problem of then when you are in this creative space and you're doing these things, you become so much more appreciative of other people's work, because you just know that it is much more just to make a sketch and call it a day. It is from sketching, music, backgrounds, writing, coding.
It's not just a simple 9 to 5 that you finish, drop, and you go home and watch movies after that, right?
Yeah. So it's definitely the appreciation is much higher. For any kind of finished product.
Yeah, I feel like it's a society problem, by the way, that you guys mentioned. I agree with that.
Yeah, let's say, I understand when people take ownership of things. Right now it's the polemic of, for example, James Cameron re-releasing his movies on 4K, and they used AI to upscale some older movies like The Terminator and so on, and people are all, this looks awful and I don't know what, and so on. But a lot of people take ownership of some movies, kind of like, no, this is like my baby. It's like, no, wait, this is the baby of him. Like, he made it. If he sees this fit, it's fine, right? So we all need to kind of be a bit more understanding of the how something is made. A lot of people don't even know how the process is and how difficult it is to make anything, basically, from the creative side, especially game development. Yeah.
And as an artist, you always kind of you try to push yourself to strive for perfection.
Sure.
And if you with any art, including video games, you're never quite finished. So you always feel like, okay, I need to abandon it, and that's where having a great team is so important. So for instance, like with Irnei, who's my co-founder in the company and the executive producer and co-creator of the game, like having somebody like him and Danilo Kapel and Tomi Golievchek and Robert, like Megon, like having a team that actually helps you understand this is good. This is good. Players are gonna like this. Stop fiddling, with this thing, and like helping create it together.
Stop adding more. We are there.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's so important, because otherwise you're never done. Like you will never be able to share this creation with the world.
Others,
So I'm super thankful for everybody who has been part of our journey, and like looking back, I'm proud of what we created, and I'm really happy that players like it.
Okay. What was your favorite part, by the way? Again, question goes to both of you about the process itself of making Elroy and the Aliens.
the 3 o'clock afternoon talks with today we had every day about the story. These were always my highlights. We debated a lot about the story and how it should go, and when we were still back living in Maribor and working there. And I remember we always tried to solve like a how can we make this part of the game, and we had never quite figured it out until 3 o'clock. Like when 3 o'clock came, we were like, and what if we do it like this? Yeah, let's do it like this. And one of the things that is still made it into the game, which I love telling, is that the name of the antagonist, Vanderbrust, right, is his surname. And we didn't know how to name him, right? And we were talking about it and trying to come up with some kind of name. And I remember today was kind of like, I don't know, let's just do some kind of Vanderbrust. I don't know. Like he just figured it out of making it. And I looked at him and go like, that sounds actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, I just had a feeling of what it should sound like. And then actually there was when I visited you in Spain.
That was in Spain. Yeah.
We spent a week or so working, fleshing out some of the details.
Yeah.
I mean, I love those moments as well. I really loved getting the first voiceovers in.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that was
it felt like audio is so incredibly important. So getting both the first audio, music, made it completely changes how you perceive a scene, right?
True.
And we worked with Epix, our friends at Epix, who like an amazing audio team, and basically became part of the team, and Danny from the team even helped us as project manager producer on Elroy. So it's that was extremely important. But then actually getting voiceovers, which we had help from from the UK, like Outsource Media, I think they're called with a full name, and actually getting the stuff that the text that we wrote or I wrote, the conversations, and then actually hearing the voices of the characters say them. It just it changes everything. It changes the way you perceive the character. Now suddenly you have a different dimension to their life, and it also motivated us to do much more with facial expressions and gestures and stuff.
Yeah, I remember the lip sync feature in the game. Yeah.
So we knew we wanted some level of lip sync early on. I know, Urban, you had like AOU, right? Like the 3 different mouse shapes in the beginning.
3 basic shapes, yeah. But then
then we changed it to much more, like all the VZims that are usually used in games, with different moods, with different facial expressions at the same time. And then, but the character still stood like this and talked, right? And then I remember watching BoJack Horseman. I don't know if you ever watched that show. And there was so much animated, gesticulation in that TV show. And then Urban and I started talking about, that not quite uncomplicated feature in the game. And in the end, we ended up doing it, and it made a huge difference. Like we went overboard in one version of the game where everybody was, waving their hands like Stan from Monkey Island, But we decided to tone it down and then really use it where it was needed for cutscenes and emotional stuff.
I see.
So yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite moments. And then releasing the game and actually seeing people play it is an amazing feeling.
True. Okay. What about the most challenging ones? You talked about, both of you, about your favorite ones, but what about the most challenging ones?
The challenging one? I think the most challenging one was to clarify what we are doing. I think it was just to come to the point of having it clear that it's now a desktop full-blown point-and-click adventure game that is not going to be just 2 hours long, but it's going to be 10 hours long, right? And I think this part was the most challenging of like realizing and making it happen, right? But otherwise, I have to admit, I had a blast making this game. There were challenges, of course, all the time, but nothing we couldn't overcome. Technical issues, things like that. But we tested it out, finding bugs, fixed them. So I don't know. Maybe today has definitely much more insight into that, especially from the company's aspect.
I mean, challenging. Like, actually, the development of this game took quite a long time for different reasons mentioned earlier. I think the fact that we actually kept going and finished it, I would consider that a big achievement for us.
Yeah.
Because it took a lot of determination and a lot of belief and passion to do it. And then anybody who's ever released a video game will know that what you think is the last 10% takes, more than 50% of the time. So actually polishing up a game and finishing it, even when, we had a fully playable version of Elroy more than a year before release, I would say. But there's so many, little bugs, little improvements, like the timing of an emotional thing, how do you, it just takes so much work to do all that. And of course, testing on different platforms and all that. Like we decided early on, let's release on Linux. Holy crap. How much, it's a lot of testing and work even though we use Unity and we can export for Linux, but there's always little things that you need to polish up. So yeah, to anybody listening, I mean, those little decisions can it's an Interstellar. That little maneuver is going to cost us, 12 years or whatever they say.
Hopefully not.
They not quite that. You nailed it.
Yeah, very true, very true. What about physical editions, by the way, and console versions or other platform versions? What about those? Can you?
You can see a prototype.
Yeah, I can see. That's why I asked it. Yeah, I can see. That's why I was cocky enough to ask it. Yeah. So what about those?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about what we would love.
Okay.
And then we can talk about what we can do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea about it, as you can see, was always there. This is something I always wanted, that we would make a physical release,
Sure.
If possible. We're still internally looking at options and seeing what are the possibilities. So let's say nothing is off the table. But for now, we will see. We'll see what the future brings. There are options, and we would definitely love to have this released also into physical version. Now, the thing is that since digital took over so much, the physical release is now much more difficult because there is so less companies dedicating to just that. You have like a limited run or 8-bit or something like this platforms that do.
Yeah, but there are more and more companies. I would say that I agree and disagree with you on a bit, because there are more and more companies coming together and forming these physical distribution companies. Like there are Red Art Games, there are Super Rare Games, there's so many, and I feel like it shows that a lot of like physical releases almost sell immediately on day one on each game. Even the most unknown games, like there were some 8-bit games that were released for Game Boy Advance, and they were like released immediately in just 1 hour, and it's shocking. It shows that like people still care. It might be niche, but people still do care about physical games, especially because of that like low thing on Steam and other platforms that you don't own the game if you buy it digitally, basically.
True. Yeah, absolutely. No, this is, as I'm saying, it's definitely one of my ambitions that we would try to make a physical version out of it, as I made a limited version of it, and for all the members to have, and with just with some goodies inside, like the replica of one of the books that you have in the game, and so on. So it's definitely a lot of ideas what we could make and what to add to it. Not just the game, but having some kind of goodies on Gamescom when we were there.
I need one, by the way. I need one.
we were giving this away as well.
Oh, okay.
Crazy. Or a replica of the Peggy's ID that he uses in the game. Things like that. We have, trust me, I made the designs and research what we can do, a smaller version, bigger version, an ultimate version, everything. We already made a research.
Statue would be also cooler, plushie, yeah.
Absolutely. But now we need to see the reality of it, and believe me, if it is possible, we will make it.
Okay.
So let's
it comes down to finances,
money,
how much
money, always,
to make it, and I mean, I'd love for people to be able to have this. I've certainly loved my prototype that one sent me, so that's amazing. Yeah.
What about the console versions, by the way? Are you planning to release the games on other platforms?
I can actually. So we're. Elroy has so far been a game that you play with your mouse and keyboard. Mm-hmm. But we've actually been very busy and built controller support for it. So that very soon you will be able to play it even on Steam with Xbox, PlayStation controllers, probably others as well, and also play it with controllers on the Steam Deck. And we're looking into as a first one Nintendo Switch, but we have to see. Like honestly, like it's all about like how much money, time, like everything we need to invest. We're all financing, we're financing this ourselves.
Yeah, it's understandable.
We're trying to make it work. I would love Nintendo Switch players to be able to play our game. I think it's a great platform with some of the things, it's a different platform that different players own.
Yeah.
And I would love to for those players to get access to, Elroy and other adventure games. So that's definitely something we're passionate about and are looking into and working on.
Thank you, by the way, for sharing this information. And what I wanted to add is that, like, since I play on PlayStation, I feel like, and I see this, that point-and-click adventure games are really reliving their golden era again, in my opinion. Yeah. And a lot of PlayStation and Nintendo Switch players do play point-and-click games. So I know a lot of friends of mine who play on PlayStation like me, or they do play on Switch, and they love point-and-click games. They just buy all of them and play them. So it became really not just a trend, but a passion for those platform players to play these type of games.
I love PlayStation, the Xbox, so all those platforms we really love to support. Just have to figure out a way to do it well.
I see. Yeah.
Not technically. Okay, we can do the technical side. It's more like everything around it. We know how to do some level of marketing on Steam and stuff like that. But on consoles, it's a bit different. So it's a lot about relationships and all that. So we also we're gonna talk to other people to see if they can help and all that kind of stuff.
I see. Yeah. I see. Thank you again, by the way, for these informations. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm very excited for this control support that we're working on now, because it's we made it that you control the character directly when you're walking through the scene. So you're it's not just that you would control the mouse, let's say, as some point-and-click adventure games make, but that you're controlling the character directly. And I have to admit that it feels to a certain extent better than playing it as a point-and-click, because you feel a little bit more engaged. It's the same feeling that we all got if someone played Diablo 3. Like, we all played Diablo 2 before with the mouse, and that was the only way to play it. But then Diablo 3 came out with the controller support, and everyone was like, hey, actually, this is not so bad. You play it directly, like, because you're controlling the character directly.
Control,
yeah. So we are very excited for this update that will come soon.
Thank you for that. What about the future for you guys, for the company, for the games? What kind of games would you like to make in the future? Or it's a spoiler time and you cannot say anything about it?
It's a very good question, and maybe we can leave it at right now we're focused on Elroy. And we just want this game to be to be the best version of itself on all the platforms, and we'll see for the future. It's I think I'm excited for whatever comes next, but there's nothing we can super concretely share right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind.
No, it's okay. It's totally fine. Yeah, it's totally fine. Before I will go into my next question and closing questions as well, is there anything that you would like to add to our conversation that I might not have asked, or you would like to talk about?
Well, it was the controller part was actually something we wanted to bring up for sure, but we just covered it right now. So,
I would probably have forgotten about to mention it, but I mean, we'd love to. We love seeing people play Elroy and all the feedback we're getting. Also, like positive and constructive negative feedback as well. I think it's really nice to have this ability to talk to players. Like, people have been writing us, sharing their thoughts, sharing their appreciation also, which has been extremely heartwarming. And also, keep doing that. We love reading that kind of stuff. And adventure games in general, I think it's an amazing genre. And we're living like the month when we released Elroy, 2 other adventure games came out, like Rosewater and Old Skies, and then there's other games like I'm blanking out a bit right now because I haven't had time to play so much. But yeah, play adventure games. Most developers of this genre, they don't sell millions of copies. Like it's important to have an active gaming community. And I'm not saying, like, I don't think the number of players playing adventure games has actually gone down from the 90s, but the other games have gotten more and more mainstream attention. And I think it's important, like, especially in this time where everything is moving so fast. Like, even very like, you go on YouTube and you watch shorts. Even comedians delivering really, really nicely timed pieces, they get cut so that the video is shorter, because people like creators think viewers don't have any attention span or
Patience.
I think it's important to realize that life is much nicer if you have patience and you take time to do things. And
more rewarding.
Yeah, adventure games are one of those things that, like, we don't care about your opinion that people don't have an attention span. I think it's like we think like actually sitting down and enjoying a story at your own pace can be a really nice and relaxing and therapeutical thing to do. Yeah, and it's kind of like reading a book or watching a very good movie or a TV show. Things don't need to explode all the time and move very fast for people to get value from it. So yeah, really appreciate everybody who's found our game and played it. So hope we can keep getting more and more people into it.
Thank you for that. Before I ask, by the way, my next question, let's see if there is any question in the chat. Let us know, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if there is any question before I ask those closing questions. Let us know. Let us know. Yeah, in my opinion, I feel like people nowadays who are rushing games that we talked about, they just realize in a harder way that like they will get bored very soon because they just move from one game to another or they just play trendy games. And I've seen a lot of like YouTubers and streamers and TikTokers do content about how they realize that this lifestyle of like rushing everything is not good, especially in the video game industry as a player. Just yesterday saw a video about a guy who was like completing all the games so he could like move on to another game and 100% them, and he just realized that, hey, I need to stop, like I need to take my time and to appreciate the art, appreciate the conversations, not skipping the conversations like a lot of people do in story games. I hate that. Like I always tell my friends, don't do that, rather learn English or rather like I don't know, use AI to translate it, but like don't do that, it's not worth it. Like
yeah. I mean, it depends on if the story is pulling you, right? So
exactly, but still, like I feel like you should appreciate, like we talked about it before, you should appreciate the creator's like time that he gave into that he was working on these things, right? And I feel like I don't know, it's just about really about the patience that people don't have anymore. I feel like
Here I would add that I think newer generations also don't know about this genre at all, or just like point-and-click adventure games or adventure games in general. And I remember vividly on Gamescom that one time a young boy came to sit in front of our booth, and he already had the position, with the keyboard and the mouse, trying to play like as a shooter, right? And it didn't work first, and he was kind of confused. It was like
the muscle memory.
What is it? Yeah. And then at one point he was just kind of like, I told him you navigate with the mouse and stuff, and then he started clicking, and then he was like, and then you do this, and then like you could see him kind of starting to understand how the system works.
True.
Because he just never encountered this type of game before, right? So this is also something that we had in mind of trying to reach also a wider audience, not just the point-and-click adventure games fans, because as we were talking before, stories are timeless, right? It's just a way to tell a story. And puzzles are also something very fun to play, and it's just making a coffee or tea and sitting down and playing. It's a very relaxing and rewarding genre.
Yeah, but like you said, I agree with it, that you have to like teach these people how to appreciate these forms of art and how to consume the story out of it. I was at the convention in Warsaw when I was representing the many pieces of Mr. Koo, And I remember like showing small kids that the game, and like there were people or small kids who were rushing and who were, you know, always clicking on the hint button, and there were kids who just sat down with their father, their mother, and they just took the time to figure it out, the puzzles there. So it's like it's really about how I feel like it's really about how they were taught by their parents and their society and the school system how to consume things. It's not just about games, it's about, like you mentioned, books and everything. So
here, now that you mentioned this, we also were debating a lot about a hint system and how we could implement something like this in. And I saw right before, like a year before our game came out, came the last Monkey Island came out, Return to Monkey Island, and I played it with my son. And the moment he realized that there is a complete hint system in the game kind of completely fall apart for him, because he didn't for 1 second then try to figure things out. He was just like, okay, hint, next hint, next, until it tells you what to do. And then he went and made it, and after he made it, he was like, okay, I'm not going to think again. I'm going to go to hint system. What should I do next? And it's starting to be like a chore. Like,
that's what I wanted to say. It's a chore rather than like a fun experience. Exactly.
So now my son doesn't have any kind of like a vivid memory from that game of going like, oh yeah, that game was amazing. It was more of like just going.
Because it's a hand-holding experience, and it's not the player who is playing for himself or herself, but like a hand-holding experience.
So that from that experience, we then decided of, okay, let's tone it down, like that we wouldn't, because we wanted to have a whole system with like that you clicked on and it kind of told you, did you try this or whatever. Like we had some kind of ideas how to do it. But
there is sorry to interrupt you. There is a very interesting idea in Encodia. I'm not sure if you guys know that game or played it.
Yeah, I played it.
Yeah, you have to ask the robot in order to get hints. So it's not basically a side-by-side hint system, but you have to ask the robot and he tells you something near how to solve it, but it's not actually how to solve it. It's just an idea, you know. So it ties up to the story perfectly. And I think that was a very good idea in that game too.
We have some of that in the conversations between Elroy and Peggy, so you can go, like in the desert, you can go talk to her. I agree fully. Like I played the new, I think it's called Return to Monkey Island, and I think there's a hint system there. And I love these games, and I ended up not being able to resist to use it.
Yeah.
And every time there's a non-diegetic, like not inside the game kind of hint system, I feel like it takes you out of the story.
True.
And it's I think the best way to do it is just to design it well, so that the hint system is part of the story.
True.
So you kind of get the idea, and then there's no like moon logic that you have to figure out, right? Ultimately, just staying inside the game, it's what's important. I also, this motivated a little bit of the difficulty level we went for with Elroy. I mean, a lot of the difficulty level was not extremely intentional, because it just came out of the puzzles and the testing. But we did ask quite a lot of people to test our game and then see, okay, they're getting stuck on this. Like, okay, 3/4 of all the testers got stuck on this, so we need to do something about it. Maybe add, like 5 scenes earlier, there's something that kind of signposts that this might be useful or used in later in the game. I really. I think it's a very, very interesting topic, having a hint system or not, or a journal. I think also this reminded me of Ubisoft games, where they're first-person games, where you walk around, but you always have this compass on top, and then there are hotspots where you need to go,
where you should go,
there. and then I find myself only looking at that and not even looking at the environment.
The art,
Where you are.
yeah.
So when I come into a city, I'm not even understanding how the city works. I'm like a Roomba, like a Roomba going towards that dot, and then there's a wall. I need to, like.
Like a Roomba. That's good.
There was, by the way, a
So-
Doctor Who episode where like the people were wearing hats, and the hats or the robot hats were telling them where to go, and if it got like some mistakes or bugs, they hit themselves into a wall, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's similar to that, yeah.
So it's I think you will enjoy playing a game much more if you in the environment, like try to figure it out
True.
and I try to do that myself now, but when I'm playing, it depends on what kind of game I'm playing. If I'm just like very, very interested in what's going to happen at the end of this journey, then I might also do the Roomba thing. But I think I would rather not, to be honest.
True.
There's one aspect that for a long time I didn't know, and it kind of clicked, and that is the difficulties of the 80s and early 90s adventure games. Why they were so difficult and why they actually had moon logic.
They wanted
And
you
that
to
was
play
the-
more.
They wanted you to call the hint system, like they wanted the hint line, and every time you call, you pay. Like you're paying to call the hint line, right? So of course Sierra wanted the most absurd puzzles there are, so no one's going to figure it out. So everyone's going to call the hint line to tell them how to continue. And of course, the solution was the most absurd solution there is. So they didn't wanted people to figure out by themselves. They wanted to call the hint line, right? And it is interesting that for a lot of people, that kind of moon logic and kind of difficulty stayed with them of comparing it with our game that is much more like has more flow, and we tried that it has zero moon logic, like that everything it's very logical how the puzzles are made, that they're like it's too easy. It's like, I don't think it's too easy, it's just logical.
True. Helidas, by the way, is also a great example that developers were down on the road to risk to build a game in this society where there is less patience, and they made a game where you actually have to figure it out. Yeah, you need to be patient in that game. Yeah, exactly. And it only shows as much percentage of the game as you want, right? If you miss something, you will miss it forever. You have to replay the game from the start. So it's a great example to that. Yeah. We talked here about a lot of things, and I appreciate your honesty, like I said. My last closing question would be, what would be your personal advice to people who would like to make games or down on the road already to make games?
Have it clear what genre you're making. Let's say, and definitely if it has story, have it as fleshed out as early as possible, and just don't forget to have fun. Like it's I know that, like, because it's a lot of stress, a lot of doubts, but at the end, if you're having fun making it, it also comes through with the game. Like you can feel it when the developers had fun of creating a game. So that, and have faith, have a lot of faith and patience.
Thank you for that.
I'd say a couple of things. Think about scope. Maybe especially if you are just starting out. It's great that you keep your ideas tight and small, because no matter what you do, it's going to be months of development. If you want to have a full game, and months I mean for very simple games, years for something more elaborate. And the other thing is, maybe think about what it is that you are really passionate about and makes you different in some way, and then bring that to the game. I think that'll help the game be, reflect yourself, be a little different, differentiate from other stuff that's out there. But that'll also make, allow players to feel, something special, something deeper, something that only you can contribute to the game.
Like you mentioned it before, that you did not want it to be a fan service for point-and-click games, but to have something unique and original. And I appreciate that because, like you said, and I totally agree with that, it's very important in video games.
Yeah, we're all individuals. We're all special in our way. Maybe try to find that. And
try to be like brave about it, right? Because I feel like a lot of creators nowadays are not brave enough to risk that sense of like unique thing about yourself. They are just rather go on the non-risky route. So
yeah, very true, very true. Don't be afraid to be who you are.
True. Thank you for that, and thank you for your time, like I said, and your honesty about all the topics we have been talking about here.
Thank you for having us. It's been really fun.
Thank you. And thanks everyone who were watching us, by the way. Thank you as well. Thank you. Like I said, I will need some more of your minutes of stream, but for those who are watching us live or will be watching the VOD version on Twitch or on YouTube, thanks for being here. Don't forget to check out the game, Elroy and the Aliens. Hopefully soon on consoles as well and with controller support. Thanks to our friends here. And have a great day or night or evening, depending where you live. And thanks everyone who joined us for today's episode of my Dev Live show. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.